On tonight, we will look at three different scriptures, and I will give those to you at the appropriate time. As we delve into the message for this evening, I'd like to give you the backdrop of tonight's message by telling you the true story of Sarah Culberson. She is a black young lady who was adopted by a white family in West Virginia. One of the interesting things about Sarah, like many people who have been put up for adoption, is that she had a desire to find her biological family. For many people, that's an exercise in futility and sometimes an exercise in tremendous disappointment. Sarah Culberson is an exception to that rule. I'm happy for what she discovered and saddened for those who will not experience the same type of favorable outcome. She hired a private investigator, and for just a nominal amount of money, Sarah Culberson discovered that she is actually a princess because her family from Sierra Leone, her father in particular, was the chief of the Mede tribe. He had come to America during college and had relations, as they say, with a white lady here, and they were both very young and had determined that they were not in a position to raise a child, and they put her up for adoption. He felt remorseful about it over the years and did not know how to find her, but was thankful that she found him. Not only did Sarah find her adopted father, but she found out that he was a chief of the tribe and that her great-grandfather was a paramount chief. Unfortunately, she discovered that her mother had died 12 years earlier. To find out that she was a princess was one thing, but to be conferred with the privileges of a princess was something that she not only did not expect, but something that she got to enjoy. Her story has been told on CNN, Good Morning America. It's been in the LA Times and the BBC. She has a website, sarahculberson.com, and has even written a book about her story. And while we are happy that Sarah Culberson, who had been put up for adoption, discovered that she actually comes from royal lineage, most people who are adopted, or most people who do genealogy on their own families, will not discover themselves to be a prince or a princess. But we should not allow this to discourage us in any way, because we have something better, something that not even Sarah Culberson can lay claim to, and that is the privilege of being God's children. Consider some passages in the Bible to help illustrate the biblical intent for us in terms of our self-esteem and our self-worth. For example, in the Gospel of John, chapter 1, beginning with verse number 12, the Bible says, "But as many as received him, to them gave he power to become the sons of God, even to them that believe on his name, which were born not of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor of the will of man, but of God." The difference with us and Sarah Culberson is that she has a blood link to her royalty. In this passage, what we are learning is that our link to royalty is simply our connection to God. And the great thing about that, according to this passage, in layman's terms, is that God is willing to accept us as is. It has nothing to do with whether or not we can trace our roots back to any particular tribe or any particular person in the Bible. It has nothing to do with whether or not we meet a standard or whether or not we are accepted by some human-made set of parameters. We spend so much of our lives trying to be approved and accepted and affirmed by people. We want a job to accept us. We want people to accept us in a relationship. We seek approval and acceptance. We like it when people compliment our outfits. We like it when people look favorably to us in some way. because acceptance is something that we seek, whether we acknowledge that or not. Unfortunately, we're not always accepted, approved, and affirmed by people, but according to John chapter 1, verses 12 and 13, God is willing to accept whoever is willing to accept him. So take comfort this evening in knowing that despite your imperfections, your failures, your faults, or your frailties, that God accepts you just as you are. A second important principle for us to consider is that of having a personal relationship. If you notice in 2 Corinthians chapter 6 and verse number 18, the Bible teaches us that we can have a personal relationship. In this particular passage, again, 2 Corinthians 6, verse 18, we read these words, "And will be a father unto you, and you shall be my sons and daughters, saith the Lord Almighty." Let me help you to understand this passage. This verse offers something more than just the closing of a chapter. It is an invitation by God to us to have a personal relationship with him. As churches are contemplating opening, shutting back down, opening, things of that nature, many people are stuck in having a church relationship and don't have a relationship with God. Here's something else to note as we talk about God. If we have a relationship with him that he extends to us that's personal, why do we call him God more than we call him Father? Did you read the verse? "And I will be a father unto you." Certainly there's nothing wrong with referencing God, but never forget that he's not only God, but he's God our Father. And he has extended to us the right to call him Father because he has made us his sons and his daughters. While you may place membership with a congregation, make sure that you have a relationship with the Father of the congregation. Third, we not only have the benefit of acceptance, but we also have a personal relationship with the Father, and we get the privilege of redemption. In Galatians chapter 4 and verse 4 and verse 5, the Bible says, "But when the fullness of time was come, God sent forth his Son, made of a woman, made under the law, to redeem them that were under the law, that we might receive the adoption of sons." Let's look in this verse 5, at the word redeem. Remember, we established from John chapter 1, verses 12 and 13, that God is willing to accept those who are willing to accept him. And we acknowledge that we are fallible people, full of faults and failures and frailties. So what happens to that debt of sin that we have, all of the baggage that we carry? Well, now we see the value of this word redeem. It doesn't just go away. The debt is actually paid. In the process of time, when God saw fit, Jesus came, he paid the price. That's what redemption is all about. So you need not worry about how you're going to clean up what you messed up, because God has already made a way for your mess ups to be cleaned up. Allow us to take comfort in knowing that we may never be like a Sarah Culberson, finding some earthly royalty in our family lineage and the honors that come with it. But fret not, we have access to the Father who accepts us, who allows a personal relationship so that he's not just God, but he's our Father. And whatever our sin debt is, he has redeemed us. I'm happy for Sarah Culberson, but I'm even happier for you and even happier for myself, because we've got access to real royalty. We get access to the Father. This has been another installment of A Few Minutes with the Minister.